our flow. Today, I would like to just talk a little bit about yoga before we start. The word itself, yoga. I have been taught that this means unity or to yoke, to bring together. And I was taught that this refers to the unity of your mind, your body, and your breath, meaning that the one of the main focuses of a daily yoga practice is to check in with your breath. Notice how your breath is feeling because every single day our bodies are different. And then also during our yoga flow to be moving at the same pace as our breath. So there's two important things there that really speak to me. The first one is that every single day our bodies are different. We we can clearly see this if we just sort of look at pictures of ourselves when we're tiny little babies and pictures of ourselves today as grown people or possibly almost fully grown. Maybe there's teens here. And then we can look at elderly people and we see that elderly people, of course, look nothing like they looked when they were babies. So in this broad sense, we know intrinsically that our bodies change every single day. But in the more immediate sense, it's a little bit more difficult to really see those changes because from day to day, we sort of wake up feeling pretty much the same as we did the day previously. And the next day we wake up and we're pretty much the same as we were the day before. And sometimes these differences can be very, very big. Like if you wake up feeling very sick one day, then obviously you're feeling pretty different than you did the day right before that. But in general, we don't notice the changes that happen on a daily basis. So when we have a regular yoga practice, even if it's not every single day, just once a week, this gives us a chance to check in with ourselves and see if we can notice any of these changes. The thing is that when we notice what it is that's changing about our bodies, we are better equipped to walk through the world, to move through the world in a safe way. There's two big SAT words, I like to call them, associated with yoga. The first is proprioception, and the second is interoception. Proprioception is your sense of what's happening outside you, but in your immediate vicinity. So right now, I'm sitting on a floor. I know that I have these speakers behind me. I have a couch right here, little couch right there. My door is over there. I know that in order to go outside, I'm going to have to open a door. I can't just walk outside. That's proprioception. That's your body telling you these are what your surroundings are like. And the second word, interoception, that is our sense of what happens inside of our bodies. Interoception tells you that you're hungry or that you're sleepy or that you have to go use the bathroom. These important things allow us the ability to move gracefully through our world, through our surroundings. And yoga is one of the most wonderful ways to increase your sense of interoception and even of proprioception, where your feet are in relation to the floor, where your body is in space. So, as we go through our yoga flow today, take a moment, see if you can find those differences in your body, even tiny, slight little changes from day to day, from yesterday to today, and also see what sort of things you're noticing are happening in your body. See what sensations are calling out to you, how you feel in relation to the world around you. All right, go to our mats, and we'll start today on our backs. Laying down, make yourself nice and comfortable. If for some reason laying on your back is not comfortable for you, you can always choose to start your yoga practice in a seat or maybe laying on your side or your belly, whatever is speaking to you today. And then make any little adjustments here so you can find a comfortable place of stillness. Closing your eyes. Start to bring your awareness to your breath. Now, first, just noticing any qualities of the breath that are standing out to you today. And the breath goes through so many different parts of the body, and we can feel our breath throughout even more parts of the body, even parts that aren't really breathing. The lungs are doing the breathing, but other parts of the body also move as you breathe. And see which breath sensations are speaking to you today. Maybe feeling your breath in your back, pushing against the ground with each inhale. Or maybe you're noticing your chest rise and fall as you breathe in and out. Or perhaps your attention is drawn to the inside parts that are moving with the breath, your nose and throat, deep down in the belly. And keeping all of your attention on those breath sensations, start to lengthen the breath. Not in a forced way, just really gently adding a little bit of time to each inhale and each exhale. And as you do so, notice what's changing about those breath sensations. Maybe some of them become more pronounced. Or maybe with a deeper breath, you start to feel sensations that you hadn't noticed before. Stretching the breath out little by little until with each inhale you feel your lungs filling up all the way with fresh, clean air. And with each exhale, you're emptying out all the way, pushing out every last speck of stale air from your lungs. If you like, you can even count your breaths here. The way I do that is just to find some sort of a cadence that makes sense to you, some sort of beat that's matching the pace of your breath. This is our first breath check-in here. So just make some mental notes of what you're feeling, maybe how long your breath is. And then throughout our flow, as we take our other breath check-ins, you'll be able to compare different sensations, maybe different lengths of the breath. And now holding on to your nice full breath, run your awareness throughout your body, one body part at a time, head to toe, all the way down to your fingertips. And as you go through, just make any mental notes here, sore spots, tender areas, Any injuries, old or new, that you want to be extra careful of as you move through your practice today. Or maybe you're noticing areas that need a little extra love and attention. Maybe you want to stretch your legs out, get some twists in for your back, your spine, whatever it is. Noticing what it is that you'd like to get out of your practice today, areas that you want to focus on. Remember that you can always modify, change any poses to make them right for your body. And this is your space to move your body however you wish. So if there are some poses that are not speaking to you, you're always welcome to sit those poses out or find a different position that you want to bring your body into. Just making this practice your own. And once you've gone through your whole body, return to the breath. Taking a couple more big, full, deep breaths here. Just being inside of your body. Blinking the eyes open. Lift your hands up, bringing the arms overhead, resting flat on the ground. Take a big good morning stretch. Stretch as long as you can. Deep breath in. And on the exhale, curling into a ball, drawing the knees to the chest, wrapping the arms around the legs, lifting the forehead up to the knees, and squeezing everything tight together. One more time with the breath. Inhale, stretching your body out as long as you can. Exhale, curling into a ball, drawing the knees to the chest, wrapping the arms around the legs, lifting your forehead up and squeezing everything tight. Releasing your head back down to the mat. Bring your hands to your kneecaps. Do some gentle circles here, waking up the lower back. Feeling all those points of contact your back is making with the earth. Almost like a little massage for the lower back here. And finding circles going the other way. Bringing your knees back to center, keeping one leg up to the chest. Let the other leg slide back down to its spot on the mat. And we're going to open this leg up, just dropping the leg down to the ground. Trying to keep an angle in the knee and the hip there, about a 90-degree angle, but it's okay if it's not exactly that. Whatever is comfortable. You can tuck your fingertips in the crease of that knee, and the other arm is going to come out to the side, turning the head, bringing the gaze over to the opposite hand. To complete your twist here. On your next breath in, lift your leg up to center. And as you breathe out, cross it over the body, dropping it down to the other side. I find that my foot wants to rest on the ground, but the knee doesn't quite come all the way down to the ground. You can tuck your fingers in the crease of the knee, just help it stay down a little. And this opposite hand is going to come out to the side, turning the gaze, bringing the gaze over to the opposite hand. So here, you don't have to have that shoulder on the mat. You can drop it down if it feels good. But you can also keep the shoulder elevated. Elbow can be on the ground or not. And release, dropping that hand back out to the side. Bring your knee back into your chest. Other leg comes to join it. Once again, coming into cannonball, holding onto both of your knees. Maybe clasping the hands together. Take a big breath in. Exhale, curling up tight, forehead comes to the knees, squeeze everything together. Releasing your head back down to the mat. This time we're keeping the other knee up to the chest, letting that first leg slide back down to the mat, and then opening out to the side, dropping that knee down, trying to find about a 90-degree angle in the knee and the hip, but it doesn't need to be perfect. Fingertips can tuck in the crease of the knee, opposite arm comes out to the side, and turn the gaze, bringing the gaze over to the opposite hand, completing your twist. On your next breath in, lift your leg up to center. Exhale, dropping it down across the body, rolling onto that hip is fine. Dropping that foot down, the knee doesn't need to touch the ground. Fingertips can tuck in the crease of your knee. Opposite arm coming out to the side. Turn the gaze, bringing the gaze over to the opposite hand, completing your twist. You can keep this shoulder elevated above the ground, or maybe it wants to come all the way down. And release. Drop that hand back out to the side. Lift your knee back up to center. Other knee comes to join it. Last time. Cannonball. Wrap the arms around the legs. Take a big breath in. Exhale. Forehead to knees. Curling tight into a ball. Squeeze everything together. And then release. Head comes back down to the mat. Tucking the fingers in the creases of both knees. Rock and roll to a seat. Forward and back a few times. So you can go with your breath here. Taking a big breath in. And on the exhale, coming up to a seat. Inhale, rolling back down. A couple times more. Just going with your breath. And then let's make our way to easy pose here. Sitting kind of cross-legged on the mat. You can have both feet and both knees on the ground, or you can tuck your feet underneath your knees, coming into a more traditional cross-legged position. And let's come into a forward fold, breathing in to lift the hands up, stretching the spine up tall, look up, bring the hands together. On your exhale, pulling the hands through heart center, releasing the fingers down to the ground. Try to keep your spine really long as you go down, sliding the fingers out or walking them out, only as far as you feel comfortable. And whenever you find your edge, relax into the fold, letting the back round out, letting the forehead come down towards the ground, maybe even releasing the elbows down to the ground. On your next breath in, lifting back up to a seat. And just find a comfortable place to rest your hands in your lap. And let's do some gentle neck warm-ups here. So we can start by just rocking our head side to side. One ear comes down to the shoulder and then switching off. Starting to get some warmth in the neck there. And that sort of naturally turns into this U shape. If you like, you can just drop your chin down towards your chest, lifting your head up towards the other shoulder, and go the other way, one side and the other. You can also do this along the back of the neck, gently leaning your head back. The neck is super sensitive, so you want to go nice and slow here. Only going as far down as it feels good. Maybe hearing some little crackling noises in your neck. You might hear them one way, but not the other. That's totally normal. And if you like, you can turn that into a full circle all the way around. You can go in one direction for a while and then switch, or you can also switch every time you make a circle. Circle one way, circle the other way. Just making sure that you find those circles in both directions. Maybe even noticing differences in how the neck feels when you turn your head one way versus the other. Or maybe there's no differences at all. Just noticing and making our way back up to center. Let's come into a twist here. One hand reaching back behind us. I like to just tap my fingers on the mat behind me. Other hand can rest in front of you or cross over your opposite knee. Take a deep breath in here and see if you can sit up a little taller. And on the exhale, deepening into the twist, bending the elbows and turning to peek over the back shoulder. One more time with the breath, lifting up on the breath. And you can even straighten out your arms, sit up really tall. Exhale, deepening into the twist, bending the elbows, peeking over that back shoulder. Release and come back to center on a breath in, floating the hands up overhead. Exhale, twisting around the other way, other hand coming behind. This hand, same options. We can cross it over the opposite knee or just rest it on the ground in front of you. Big breath in to sit up nice and tall. On the breath out, deepening into the twist, bending the elbows, peeking over the back shoulder. Inhale, coming out of the twist just a little bit, lengthening the spine. Exhale, bending the elbows, peeking over that back shoulder. Release just the hands coming up to center, floating the hands up. Exhale, hands together in front of the heart. Let's give our feet a little bit of love, lifting up whichever leg is in the front here. You can rest your leg in the crook of your arm, the heel in the palm of the hand. And then with this other hand, you can either just hold onto your toes, or maybe you want to interlace your fingers in between the toes, stretch them out a little bit, wake up those toes, and get some movement into the foot, getting the blood flowing through this foot, wiggling around all those toes, and making sure to find circles going both ways. And then release and switch sides. Lifting up the other leg, resting that leg in the crook of your elbow, heel in the palm of the hand, grabbing onto the toes or interlacing the fingers in between the toes, and then getting some movement there, warming up the foot, getting the blood flowing through your foot, ankle moving around, and finding circles going the other way as well. And then release, dropping this foot down so your legs are now crossed the other way. Other leg coming in front here. Let's try that forward fold on this side. Big breath in, floating the hands up overhead. On the breath out, pulling the hands through heart center, releasing the fingertips down to the ground, and slowly folding forward, sliding the fingers or walking the hands out. Finding your comfort zone, however deep you want to come into this fold, and then rounding out the back and relaxing the forehead down towards the ground, possibly dropping the elbows down to the ground as well. Maybe noticing differences here in how the legs feel with your legs crossed one way versus the other. Or maybe there's no difference at all. And on the breath in, rising back up to a seat, floating our hands all the way up overhead, bringing the hands together. Exhale into a side stretch. One hand coming down to the ground. Opposite arm arcing overhead like a rainbow. And with this hand on the ground, you can start to walk those fingers out, finding a comfortable stopping place. Perhaps you would like to find some movement here, bending and straightening the elbow, or if stillness is what is calling to you, you can find some stillness as well. On your next inhale, rising back up to a seat, floating the hands up. Exhale, dropping the other hand down to the ground, walking the fingers out, opposite arm arcing overhead, bending, straightening the elbow. And remember that you can try alternate positions, different positions on two different sides. Just because our sides look symmetrical does not mean they need the same thing. So maybe you want to find some stillness here, even though you were moving on the other side or the other way around. On the breath in, rising back up to a seat, floating the hands up overhead. Exhale, hands together in front of the heart. Let's make our way to hands and knees tabletop now. Couple options for how to get there. You can plant your hands and roll over the knees, or you can just swing your legs around to one side. Take a moment to set up for success. Checking on your alignment here. Wrists can come right underneath the shoulders, giving you a nice solid base. Knees right underneath the hips. And our fingers, we want to have some space between the fingers and a little bend in the knuckles, little micro bend in the knuckles. So we're gripping the mat with our hands. And let's find our balancing pose. One leg comes up, pushing through the sole of the foot like you're stamping it into a wall behind you. Maybe the opposite arm comes up as well. If that feels too wobbly, just focus on the leg for today. Take a big breath in here. And as you breathe out, release, hand and knee coming back down to the mat, switching sides. Other leg comes up, pushing through the sole of the foot. Imagine that you're stamping it into a wall behind you. And perhaps lifting the opposite arm as well. Big breath in, dear, just stretch it out long. Exhale, release, hand and knee back down to the mat. Keep going, lifting as you breathe in. And dropping the hand and knee back to the mat as you breathe out. Inhale to lift and stretch it out long. Exhale, release, coming back down. Keep going, remembering to tie your movement to your own breath, whatever pace you're breathing at. And also remember that you can just use your leg today if your arms are just not feeling it. 2 more times on either side with your breath. Last one. Exhale, coming back down, making sure you've done both sides evenly. And let's make our way to child's pose. Space between the knees, bringing the big toes together to touch. Push the hips back to the heels. Relax the forehead down towards the ground. Elbows can come to rest on the mat, or you can stay active in your arms, stretching your arms out, tenting the fingers if that's what's feeling good today. Close your eyes. Take a little breath check in here. Seeing which breath sensations are calling your attention. Noticing the texture of the breath. Perhaps this is a little different than our very first breath check-in during our opening breathing exercise. Noticing which parts of your body are moving in and out as you breathe. And where you feel this, in this new position, we did our last breath check-in on our back. So here we are in child's pose. Our body is in such a different position. Maybe the breath also feels different as it moves through your body. On your next inhale, lifting back up to hands and knees, tabletop. Doing a little toe stretch here, tucking the toes under And then pushing the hips back towards the heels. So if this feels like enough pressure on the feet, you can keep your hands on the ground. And if you want a little bit more pressure on those feet, really stretching the toes and the bottoms of the feet out, you can come up to a seat. If your toes are like mine, your pinky toes don't want to come forward, you might want to reach down and help the pinky toes coming forward. And then just stretching out the bottoms of those feet there. Of course, you can always keep the hands on the ground. And let's release, planting the hands flat on the mat. Untuck the toes, tap the tops of the feet on the ground. And let's make our way all the way up to standing, however you'd like to get there. Take a moment to adjust your clothing as needed. Shake it out. Finding our way to mountain pose. Mountain pose is just standing still in yoga, but it's standing with intention, thinking about every single part of our body. Another name for mountain pose is equal standing posture. Our sides are not symmetrical, but they're kind of close. So we can imagine that if we were going to have two scales, one underneath each of our feet, we would want them to say about the same thing here. Peeking down at your toes, we can have two options for our feet here, big toes touching, or some space between the feet on two different train tracks. Lift your toes up, spread them all out, wiggle them around, and set them back down again nice and wide. And then rock back and forth on the feet. Not enough to lose your balance here, just enough to really feel into all the nerve endings on the bottoms of the feet. Noticing all the points of contact that your feet are making with the earth here. You can come onto the sides of the feet, waking up all those nerve endings on the insides and the outsides. See if you can feel into all four corners of both of your arches. We have arches going front to back, and we also have an arch side to side on the foot. So it's not exactly four perfect corners, but there's 4 points on your feet where you really put most of the weight. See if you can find those 4 points on both of your feet. You can even close your eyes if it helps and really send all of your awareness there into your feet. And then find some stillness. Notice how your weight is distributed between your feet. Keeping the knees soft. We don't want to lock our knees or we'll cut off our circulation. Lift up on the spine, roll the shoulders down the back, and bring some action into the hands. Palms facing forward, stretching the arms out. You can even imagine if there was a string pulling you up by the top of your head, stretching your spine really tall. How would that feel? Standing up as tall as you can. Blinking the eyes open. Inhale, float the hands up overhead. Look up and bring your hands together. Exhale into a forward fold, bending the knees, hinging from the hips, keeping the spine long, relaxing the upper body down. Just stay here for a breath in and out. And on your next inhale, rising back up to standing, unrolling the spine with the arms dangling down, stacking the vertebrae one at a time. Exhale, mountain pose. Once again, big breath in, float the hands up, stretch your spine up tall, look up, hands come together. Exhale, hinging from the hips, little bend in the knees, keeping the spine really long, relaxing the upper body down. This time, rise straight back up to standing on your next inhale, keeping the knees bent, unrolling the spine, letting the arms dangle down. Exhale, mountain pose. Let's find our way into Warrior Two. I like to set my feet up with my hands on my hips. Receiver is coming out there. We step 1 foot back. This back foot, toes are going to be pointed towards that long edge of the mat. And then we'll turn our front foot so the toes point straight forward towards the short end of the mat. And then adjust your stance here. Warrior Two is a pretty wide stance, but how wide it is exactly is going to depend on how your legs and your hips feel. Our front knee has a nice deep bend in it right over the ankle. Sometimes we have a tendency to let that knee sort of fall down towards the big toe edge of the foot. You want to push it back back towards that pinky toe edge of the foot and check on your spine. Sometimes in Warrior Two, we have a tendency to lean over the front leg. We want to try to keep that from happening, keeping the spine centered right above the hips. And once your legs are all situated, include the arms, lifting the arms up, peeking back, making sure the back hand is nice and high, and bringing the gaze right to the front middle finger. Let's move with our breath. On the inhale, straightening out the front knee, bringing the hands up overhead. Exhale, bending the knee and lowering back down. Warrior Two. Keep moving with the breath. Inhale to come up. Exhale, taking your whole breath out to come back down again. 3 more at your own pace. Just listening to your breath and moving to the beat of your own drum. Last one. Meeting back down in Warrior Two. On an inhale, come into reverse warrior. Legs stay the same. Front arm comes arcing overhead like a rainbow. Back hand can rest on the back leg. Or maybe it feels good to wrap it back behind you. Fingers reaching around towards the front hip. And take a big breath in here. As you breathe out, cartwheel the hands around, planting the hands around the front foot. You can come up onto your back toes, lifting the back heel. If you like, you can drop that back knee down, or you can keep it lifted up, and we'll come into a twist, planting the front hand opposite the front foot right there on the mat. So I have my right foot forward, left hand on the mat. Inhale, other arm comes up high, stretching the fingers to the sky. If this is feeling too challenging, feel free to drop that back knee down. Hold on to your breath here, taking big, deep breaths in and out. One more deep breath in. As you breathe out, release that upper hand down to the ground and step your front foot back to your back foot, coming into a high plank. Again, we're going to hold this here just for a couple breaths. You can always drop those knees down. Take sort of half plank from your head to your knees. One more big breath in. On the exhale, drop the knees, untuck the toes, come all the way to the belly, and let's take a break. 2 options: stacking the hands and resting the forehead on the stacked hands, or turning your head to one side, resting on a cheek, and bringing the hands back behind you towards your hips, palms facing up. Neither one of those resting options for your hands and your head are just fine. Another breath, check in here. Perhaps you feel your body has warmed up a little bit. Often this is accompanied by a faster pace breath. Checking in with your breathing, any sensations here associated with the breath, new or old. Maybe you're feeling some of those similar sensations to our last breath check-in and our breathing exercise at the beginning of the flow. Maybe some new sensations are speaking to you here. Take some time to stretch your breath out again. Making your way back to a strong, full, deep breath. Let's release. Drop the chin to the mat. Bring your hands right underneath your shoulders. 3 baby cobras with the breath. Inhale, push the shoulders down. Lift just the chest out. Keep the elbows bent. Exhale, lowering back down to your belly. 2 more times. Go with your own breath. Inhale to lift up. Exhale, gently coming back down. Last one. Inhale on. coming up. And exhale, lowering back down again. We're going to make our way back up to standing and do the other side. However you want to get there. Excuse me. And making our way back into warrior two. Other toes pointing straight towards the short end of the mat. And then stretching this back foot back. So this time I've got my left foot forward and my right foot back. Front heel lining up with the center of the back foot or the back heel. And then making sure that front knee isn't leaning down towards the big toe side of the foot. Push it back over towards the pinky toe edge. Knee is right over the ankle. Checking on our spine, centered right above the hips. Not leaning forward. And bringing the arms up. Making sure that back hand is nice and high. Bring the gaze to the front middle finger and move with your breath. On the inhale, knee straightens out. Bring the hands up overhead. Exhale, bending the knee and lowering back down. 4 more, going with your breath at your own pace. If for some reason, if your arms ever start to get tired here, you can just focus on the leg and keep your hands on your hips. It's always important to make sure our blood is circulating properly. Just listening to your body. Adjusting your practice as needed for yourself. Last one, up and down with your own breath. Making your way back down to warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior, legs stay the same. Front arm arcing overhead like a rainbow. Back hand dropping back to the back leg or wrapping back behind, reaching around towards the front hip. One more big breath in here. On the exhale, cartwheeling the hands down, framing the front foot, coming up onto those back toes, lifting the back heel. You can keep the knee up or drop it down. Planting whichever hand is opposite the front foot on the mat. So I have my left foot forward, right hand on the mat. Inhale, other arm comes up high, stretching the fingers up to the sky. Stay really active in that back leg if it's lifted, or just drop it down if that's what you're feeling today. One last big breath in here. And release. Drop that upper hand down to the ground. Step your front foot back to your high plank, upper push-up. Let's hold our plank, keeping your knees up or dropping them down. Feel your core nice and strong, sucking up the belly. Stay really active in the core. Try to keep your body nice and straight here. One more big breath in. And exhale, release, drop the knees, untuck the toes. Lower all the way down to the belly. Another break here, stacking the hands, resting the forehead in the stacked hands. Or if your head was turned to one side, you can turn it to the other side, resting on your cheek, wrapping your hands back behind, palms facing up, right next to your hips. Closing your eyes once again. Feeling the front side of your body push against the ground with each breath in. Or maybe your attention is drawn to your back, rising and falling with the breath. The shoulders moving up and down. Noticing any sensations inside of your body, maybe feeling your breath all the way down in your belly, or the temperature of the breath on the inside of your nose and throat. And when you feel ready, bringing your chin back to the mat, plant both hands right underneath your shoulders. Inhale, baby cobra pose, lifting up just the head and upper chest, keeping the elbows bent. Exhale, lowering back down. 2 more. Go with your own breath. Last one. On your next breath in, push yourself back up to tabletop and make your way to a seat. We'll do a little cool down here and then find our way into Shavasana, our final resting posture. We're going to start here with a wide-legged forward bend. Only opening up your legs as much as they feel comfortable here. They don't need to be too open. And this is one of the most intense forward folds in yoga. So if you don't go down very far, it's totally fine. Just listening to your body. If you're feeling a stretch, you're doing it right. Don't worry if you feel like you're not going down far at all. Take a big breath in here. And as you breathe out, just let your hands slide down your legs, relaxing your upper body down towards the ground. Maybe your legs or maybe your hands are going to reach all the way to your feet. Maybe not. Relaxing the head and neck down. You can also choose to bring your hands out in front of you and stretch the fingers out. On your next inhale, bringing the hands back, lifting up your chest. Bring your hands behind you, fingers pointing towards the hips. Point the knees to the sky and rock your legs side to side. Little hip release here. Boat pose. Pointing the knees up to the sky. Starting by just clasping our hands outside of our legs and leaning back to get a little extra length in the spine. If this already feels like enough, you can stay right here. If you want a little more, release the hands. Try to keep your spine where it is. Takes lots of core strength. Tucking the fingers in the creases of both knees. Lean back to float the feet. You can stay here, or you can release your hands for even more of a challenge. And if you really want to challenge yourself today, you can start to straighten out the legs. That's really difficult even for me. You might start to feel your body shake here. I was taught that that is your body releasing extra pent up cortisol stress hormone out from your muscles, getting rid of the stress. De-stressing here. Take one more big breath in. And exhale, release. Drop the feet to the mat. Bring your hands behind you, fingers pointing towards the hips. One more time. Rocking the knees side to side. Staff pose. Stretching both legs out long in front of you. You can have them together. You can have a little space between them, flexing the toes, making sure not to lock our knees so we don't cut off our circulation from our feet. And then bringing the hands to your sides. You can rock side to side a little, tuck the thumbs underneath you if that feels good. Push down through the curve in the bottom of the palm, lengthen the spine, sitting up really straight and tall. Everything in the body is really active here. Releasing just the hands. Keep all that length in your spine. Inhale, float the hands up overhead. Exhale, folding forward, hinging from the hips, keeping the spine really long, relaxing the upper body down, reaching for the feet. If your hands end up on your legs or on the mat beside you, that's totally okay. Or you can clasp your hands outside of your feet, relax your head, neck down towards your knees. On your next inhale, walking the hands back, lifting up the chest. We're going to come into one last pose before we lay down on our backs. Butterfly pose, bound angle pose. Feet come together, knees out to the sides. You can have your feet a little farther, or you can bring them in close if that feels good. And then interlace your fingers, and maybe you want to tuck them outside of the toes or underneath the feet. Take a big breath in to sit up nice and tall. On the exhale, going deep into the twist, keep into the fold, keeping your spine long, relaxing the upper body down, maybe opening up your elbows and pushing the knees down, relaxing your forehead down, and you can also release your hands from your feet here. Inhale, walk the hands back, lifting the chest up. One last time, let's point the knees to the sky, bring the hands behind us, and rock our knees side to side to release the hips. And then come all the way down onto your back. Back into our cannonball pose here, drawing the knees into the chest, wrapping the arms around the legs. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, forehead comes to the knees. Squeeze tight into a ball, squeezing everything together, just like you did at the beginning. Take a big breath in and stretch your body out long. Arms flat on the ground, up overhead. Legs stretched out long on the mat. Big breath in here. And then moving with your breath, just as you begin to breathe out, come back into cannonball, drawing the knees to the chest, wrapping the arms around the legs, lifting the forehead up, squeezing everything tight. One more time, inhale to stretch it out long. Exhale, curling up into a ball. Releasing your head back down to the mat. Let's find those gentle circles with our knees. We did this at the very beginning of our flow. So here's an opportunity for you to see if you notice any changes, see if this feels any different this second time around after our whole class has gone by, and then find some circles going the other way as well. Coming back to center, bringing the arms out wide in a T. Float the legs up on a tabletop. Take a big breath in here. Exhale, dropping both knees down to one side, rolling onto your side, coming all the way down to the floor. Try to keep that 90-degree angle in the knees and hips, but it doesn't need to be perfect. And then we can tuck these fingers in the crease of the top knee and turn our head, bringing the gaze over to the opposite hand, completing the twist. See if you notice where you're feeling this twist in your spine. I always feel it more on one side than the other. Maybe you feel it more towards the top or the bottom, or maybe the sides feel about even here. And switching sides, releasing the top end back out to the side. Inhale, lifting the knees up to center. Exhale, dropping them down the other way, all the way to the ground, fingertips tucking in the crease of the top knee, and the gaze turning over to the opposite hand, completing your twist. Noticing where you feel this twist, maybe on one side or the other, maybe more at the top or the bottom of the spine. Or maybe it feels pretty much the same everywhere. Release that top end back out to the side. Inhale, knees come up to center. Exhale, release, making your way to Shavasana. All the way down, flat on our backs. If this is not comfortable for you, you can always find a different position to meditate in. You might want to try pointing the knees up to the sky. And if you have a pillow or even a block, you can try a restorative bridge pose, just putting a little block there underneath your back. And then get your last wiggles out. Find a comfortable place of stillness. Close your eyes and release your body. Imagine you feel yourself melting into the ground, all the tension flowing out of you, everything as relaxed as it possibly can be. Release your breath, returning back to natural breathing. And release your mind. Just watch your thoughts come and go like a rainbow in the sky. You see it bright, all the colors, and then the rain stops and it disappears to be replaced by something new. Find a few moments of stillness to complete your practice today. Blink your eyes open, starting to make your way back up to a comfortable seat. We'll just do a couple last poses here to shake our yoga fuck. Coming into a forward fold, stretching the hands out in front of you, relaxing the upper body down. Inhale, rising back up to a seat, floating the hands all the way up overhead. Exhale, side stretch. One hand comes down, opposite arm arcing overhead like a rainbow. You can bend and straighten the elbow or find some stillness there. Inhale, coming back up to a seat. Exhale, down the other way. Back up on a breath in, floating the hands up. Exhale, release, hands in the lap. Thank you all so much for joining me today for yoga. I did notice that a couple of friends came on towards the end. I'm so sorry that I had to move my class time. We're starting now at 11:30 to 12:30, so I hope you all can make it at that time. If not, they also post the classes on YouTube, so you're always welcome at any time at your leisure, whenever it's convenient for you, to go to our YouTube page as well, Urban Lotus Project YouTube, and you'll find the class